Cool. Harshita, you can just let me know when to start.
I guess we can start. Like people will be coming and they can join us, so we can start with the presentation.
Perfect. Cool. So I will just.
So okay, like before starting, I want to give like some introduction about the sessions. And hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have with us Ruchi Jaju, and she will be explaining her. Us about the content marketing strategies and everything about content marketing that we need to know as a beginner and as a freelancer as well. So thank you, Ruchi, for joining us today. And
Thank you, Harshita. Thank you, everyone, for turning up.
okay, so like cannot see the PPT.
Yeah, I will share now. Yeah, I stopped sharing. I will right now. Wait. Hang on. Okay. Perfect. You guys can see, I hope, right?
Yeah, the
Yep.
screen is visible.
Okay. Cool. Perfect. So, thank you everyone for joining and Happy New Year to all of you. Uh, Before just starting off with the session today, I would just like to, we always say that, any plan is good enough until it's executed. Similarly, for any product or service that we talk about is only as good enough as its marketing, right? A product or a service which is not well marketed and not well known to people, people will not buy it. As simple as that. That's why it becomes more important, to have the target audience attention while we do marketing. And content marketing, of course, in the last few years, it has become quite a buzzword and everyone wants to use it, thanks to HubSpot, thanks to Content Marketing Institute that, have really increased the awareness for this particular topic. Before just moving ahead and beginning with the presentation, I would just like to, have a quick overview or understanding from you all as to how many of you actually know, do you understand what a target audience is and what a target market is? Because we'll be using these terms like pretty often in the session. If any one of you who does not know the difference between a target audience and a target market, you can just quickly let me know so that I can tell you. And I'll give you a very easy example so that you'll remember it for lifetime and you'll not be able to forget. So, is everyone clear with a target audience and a target market? What both of these terms mean?
I'm interested to
Yes?
know your example.
Good. Thank you. So, okay. So, target audience and target market are often, these terms are used interchangeably, right? They may mean the same or they may not mean the same. But broadly, if I have to say so, target market is often used for, people who would actually consume your product at the end. So those are your end consumers for any product and service. Whereas in case of a target audience become those people who actually, make that buying decision. Right. Now ये हो गया उसका technical kind of a definition. Let me give you an example which makes that really easy and quicker to understand. So when we talk about, say, suppose Pampers, right, or any diaper company that you can think of, what is it like? Say suppose Pampers, everyone knows that, right? I'm just assuming that everyone knows that P&G ka product hai. So when we talk about Pampers, so it's basically a baby diaper, right? Babies are the target market because they are the end consumers. But of course, they cannot make the buying decision. They're too small to make a buying decision. So, who all could be the target audience for a product like this? Parents, of course, right? Because they buy products like diapers for their kids. They could be grandparents, they could be hospitals, pharmacies, or maternity wards, institutions, doctors, everyone who is kind of related to kids or infants. Getting it? So they become your target audience. So for any product, it could happen that your target audience and target market could be different or could be same. The difference is clear now? And then I'll proceed ahead. Just let me know a quick yes, no. Guys, there's absolutely silence. I really cannot.
And she cannot see the comments.
Yeah,
I see yeses flying in the
Yes, it's
the comments all are saying yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's why I was like, comments are not visible to me. Yeah, perfect. So I'll just
Tanpreet
quickly
is
move to the
saying
next.
to please repeat.
Sorry?
One person is saying to repeat the example.
Okay, so I'll just quickly repeat the example. So I took the example of Pampers as the product, right? So the target market for Pampers would be the end consumers who are infants, right? Children who actually wear diapers and who use diapers. But children are too small to make that decision of buying something. They forget about making that decision. They are not even capable enough to go and purchase anything for themselves. So who makes that purchase decision for them? Is their parents or grandparents or anyone, any family relatives or institution, maternity institutions, doctors, pharmacies, all these people who are actually buying that product for the kids to be consumed becomes the target audience, right? And if you have more doubt, I can clarify it later, but in the interest of time, I'll move ahead. So the quick agenda for this session is we are going to discuss the what and why of content marketing, and we're going to walk through of the buyer's journey, what are the SMART goals, and how to create content for your business. So content marketing is like a first date. How? Right? How many of you have gone on a date or not gone on a date, rather? I should ask that. And please, unmute yourself because I cannot hear, I cannot see the comments, or I'll have to switch.
Very interesting.
I mean, I'm assuming all of you have gone on a date. Yeah, I mean, of course. Right?
Maybe the question you should ask is the number of dates. That will be more interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting, right? So, what happens in a date scenario, right? You meet for any guy or girl you meet, right? You go and you talk about yourself. So I'm giving you two scenarios. One scenario is wherein suppose a guy or a girl approaches you and they talk about themselves, that they are this, they are that, and they like to do XYZ things. They are earning so much of money, or they have this much. They have this ambition in life to do, to become a millionaire or something, whatever. And they're talking about themselves. And then there is a second kind of a person wherein you meet and they interact with you and they are like, okay, they introduce, they give a short introduction about themselves, that what are they doing and maybe what are their ambitions in life, and discuss their hobbies. But they are more interested to know about what you are doing as a person and what are your ambitions in life and what are your goals, or, they kind of show interest in you. So what kind of a person, like if you are in a scenario like this, that you have been given these two kind of options, what kind of a person would you like to go on a date with? First, second. I think I should switch on to the comment section because you guys are not unmuting yourself.
They're saying second.
Yeah, of course. Nobody would like to go on with the first kind of person. So consider content marketing similar to that, because when brands use content marketing, it is often like this scenario. When they use content marketing, they pull the target audience towards themselves, rather than they, blatantly talking about themselves or promoting about themselves. So often you find brands who always talk about themselves, right? You kind of may interact with them, or just see their content first or for the second time online, but for the third or fourth time probably you'll not like to engage with their content anymore, because they just talk about themselves all the time. They never want to ask you, or they never want to take any interest in knowing about what are your challenges, what are your pain points, or what are the difficulties that you are facing in your life. So content marketing presents a similar kind of a scenario. Sorry. Okay. So now let's get back to the technical definition of it. Again, so I use a mix of, real world examples to make the topic more interesting and so that people can remember us, because all these definitions, you can find it across the internet as well. There's nothing fancy that I'm discussing it out here, but it's just the experience and the simplicity in which I can convey it to you would be something, which would stay with me and probably with you as well. So when we talk about what is content marketing, so content marketing, the definition wise, there are few words that I really like to you to pay attention to. It's a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing content that is valuable, relevant, and consistent to attract and retain a clearly defined target audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. In a nutshell, actually, puri definition मैंने outline कर दी है. So there's nothing. So when we talk about content marketing, there are few things when we specifically talk about. Of course, it is a strategic marketing approach because you have specific goals in mind that you want to incorporate within your business. That's why you're using content marketing. So marketing aisa nahi hai that you just want to promote or pitch your products or services, but there is a specific goal attached to it. So that's why it becomes more strategic. You have more objectives, you have a vision, or you have a deadline to achieve. You have an X revenue target that you have, just set for your organization, and for which marketing helps you channelize that. When we talk about creating and distributing valuable, relevant and consistent content. So content, of course, becomes the king here because the content has to be such that adds on value, which is relevant and which is consistent. So when we talk about valuable, so any news item, if I pick and paste on any social media platform, it may not be valuable, right? Because that's available like across. So for any product or service, and I'm assuming like a lot of us are also here who are attending are freelancers also. Some of you are also business owners. So for all of us, it becomes more important whenever you're interacting with people, whenever you're interacting with clients, or, probably if you are owning your business, then probably for your stakeholders, what you need to keep in mind is provide information which is valuable to the end consumer. Right? Because that's the biggest challenge that people face and businesses face, that, you need to put the needs of your customers ahead of your own needs, right? So you have to tell stories, you have to tell experience, you have to share those experiences, your pain points or your challenges, and that helps you connect with your target audience. Right? So all those things that you do is often by means of content. So again, it has to be relevant. If your content is not relevant to your specific target audience, it is not good enough. Forget about a purchase decision. The people will not even engage in the content that you're sharing. And of course, it has to be consistent. So, we live in an age wherein content marketing or any form of content marketing nowadays is dominated by online or social media platforms, right? Online platforms or social media platforms. And if you're not consistent, then probably you're missing out a whole chunk of target audience, because the algorithms doesn't like inconsistencies. As simple as that. You can consider it for your own, you can notice the same for your own individual social media platforms. If you're not active for a very long time, probably you'll not get those relevant feeds also, right? A lot of you are active on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you understand the value of consistency there, because all of you are content creators. Majority of you are content creators, and if you don't show up for a week or 10 days, then the drop that you see in your reach is a drastic drop. And so, as a content creator, as business owners, or probably as consultants or freelancers who are working for other clients, you need to keep this thing in your mind, that you have to be consistent. So even if there could be scenarios wherein your clients would demand, that, okay, why do you want to charge so much, and why do you think I need to do like 20, 25, 30 posts a month? I can very well manage with 5 to 10 posts a month, just for example. But you need to understand, make them understand the dynamics of how the social media platform works. And of course, towards the end part of the definition, we need to have all these content in a way, because we are making use of this content to attract the attention of the target audience, and we want them to take a specific action towards. So the action could be anything, right? When we talk about drive profitable customer action, so the action could be, if I have my own blogging website, right? If I have my own blog, I would want more and more subscribers on my blog, right? So for me, my profitable action could be, I would like to have more subscribers every month. For somebody else who is on an e-commerce business, probably they would like to have more conversions. They will like to have like more purchases towards the end of the day. As per your business, you have to ensure that it has to be, what do I call? Yeah, you have to ensure what the profitable customer action is for your business, and accordingly work out a strategy. And how you do that, I'm going to, just tell you in the slides to come.
Hey,
So,
sorry,
go
before
ahead.
you go ahead, there was a question in the chat. I did answer it, but maybe they want to hear from you. Ria says, what is the difference between content marketing and copywriting?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Prince, for actually letting me know. So, Ria, the difference between content marketing and copywriting is as simple as that. So, copywriting, when we talk about copywriting, so any content that you write in order to promote any product or service comes into the category of copywriting. Whereas content marketing, we are talking about a broader aspect of it. Copywriting becomes a part of it. Content marketing is a whole strategy that we are discussing about, and wherein we talk about different social media platforms. We also talk about online and offline channels as well. So content marketing is not just restricted to online platforms. It can also be used very well in offline channels as well. However, as I said, that now because everyone is online, so you see a lot of brands and a lot of companies focusing more on online channels because of better ROI. As simple as that, you get better, measurable metrics there. Okay.
So briefly, what I wrote back was copywriting as a skill is used to execute content marketing strategy. But yeah.
Yeah, it covers that. Thank you so much. So, how old is content marketing? Like, what do you guys think? How old is it? How many years old? Just take a random guess. Or you want me to switch to the chat and have a look at it?
Stone Age. Someone said it's a Stone Age.
Yeah, I think it exists since always. Like, if there's marketing, then we need content. Content is only getting marketed, right? Even if it's a product, we need to create content for the product for it to get marketed, whether it's TV commercials or newspaper advertisements or anything.
But Stone Age is very relevant, like
Stone Age.
all the scriptures that you see at historical sites. Maybe they weren't trying to market their skill; they were trying to convey information, but they were trying to convey information about their skill. So,
right. So yeah, it is like very old, but technically to say so, like in the marketing scenarios, as Prince said, it would go back maybe somewhere around the 1800s. Right, when eventually the content marketing term was began to used. So how many of you actually know of this example, John Deere's the Furrow? Do you know this brand, John Deere's?
No.
John Deere's, yes. The Furrow, no.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you what it is. So John Deere's is into agricultural equipments, right? They manufacture agriculture equipments. As you can see farm equipments here. They make tractors, harvesters, and other agricultural equipments. And what can you imagine, like back in 1800s, right? As you can see, I've kind of put pictures also of the furrow here. So what could the furrow have as an information back in those days, or what kind of a content marketing platform could they provide? Because that time we didn't have any internet, right? So of course, I mean, as a wild guess, I'm just, in the interest of time, I'll just quickly say it was a magazine, right? So they provided a magazine. It was a monthly magazine that they used to publish, which had information related to farming and agriculture, which used to describe, farmers about what kind of, crops they can cultivate, how they can have better, output of their production or whatever, So in terms of it, whatever information that is relevant to a farmer in terms of weather, in terms of seed quality, in terms of soil quality, in terms of how much water does it require for irrigation, in terms of what's the best time to harvest the crops, how to store the crops, how to make more money while selling at relevant marketplaces. It had all the information back then. And that's one of the most classic example and a very well-known example from the earlier days. So those who are into, writing and content marketing, or who want to get more understanding of this particular department as to how content marketing can be beneficial, there's a very good case study around it also available on the internet, which I've actually linked into this presentation, which you guys can check later on. And now let me just quickly move to what is the importance of content marketing in today's era. So we all know content marketing is useful. Everyone is doing this. There are brands talking about this. And of course, HubSpot ne bol diya hai, to humko karna hi padega types, right? So all those things come into the picture. When we talk about specifics, like what it actually does, so okay, it increases your audience retention, right? It's a no-brainer, right? The more you see, the more you remember. It's a simple game. नहीं दिखेगा तो नहीं बिकेगा वाला system है, right? जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. Sorry, I use a lot of Hindi in between. So, but I'm assuming a lot of you already are well equipped with Hindi. So. Then better social media traction. Of course, social media is important. A lot of us use social media platforms. So if we talk about like statistics, say suppose a lot of millennials, a lot of people in Generation Z, they are on social media platforms. People from Generation X or baby boomers category, every one of them is like majority of them are there using some or the other social media platform, may it be Facebook, may it be YouTube, may it be people like us who are also present on LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, and other social media platforms that we use. So that's why, social media traction becomes very important, because that's where a majority of the target audience spends their time on. We hardly consume content on print these days. Very few of us. Establish trust with your audience. That becomes a very key component, because we tend to buy only those products that we trust. As simple as that. So content marketing helps you establish trust with your target audience. How you do that is, of course, via means of your content, which helps solves the problems of the target audience, right? So you have to address the pain points of the target audience with the content that you put there. As simple as that. The moment they feel that their pain points are being addressed well, their challenges are being addressed to, or something you talk about a user journey or an experience that you share, which the audience can relate to. Like we often, all of us, I think in India, all of us like content from Zomato and Swiggy. Why? Those are like just, if we just keep aside the content, what they're doing, they're just a food delivery app. That's it, right? Nothing fancy about it, nothing great about it. If I compare those food delivery apps to that of here in Luxembourg, right? They are like equivalent, right? it's just a food delivery app business. How in the world can somebody imagine that, okay, via content marketing you can actually win such from millions of users? If the same thing, the same food delivery, the same kind of food delivery apps that I see here in Luxembourg are kind of dead because there's no interaction, there's no content that I like from them. I still go back to the content of Zomato. I wish I had Zomato or Swiggy here just because I like their content. I would have loved to order food from there, right? So why content becomes so important is because they kind of share relatable instances from lives of people like you and me, and that helps in establishing trust with the brand. Generating leads and improving conversions is like the very obvious and a no-brainer thing that it becomes important. Of course, every brand is behind getting either leads or conversions. That's what we are here for. If we cannot sell our product or services, we'll not be able to survive. As simple as that. Enhance search engine optimization efforts. So of course, again, content marketing plays a very crucial role in that as well, because like, how many of you here actually go beyond the first page of Google search engine? Very few. If I have to talk about statistically, only, I would rather say that only that 75% of the people don't even go beyond the first page of the search engine, which is a fact, right? If I go and search anything on Google, probably first or at max second page I will go on to. If I don't find the relevant search on the first page, I may not even go on the third, fourth, fifth, and forget about the pages following next, right? So if any particular product, service, or any particular brand that needs to make themselves aware online, so content marketing helps with that as well. And then it helps you build authority. So when we talk about building authority, another classic example that I've been discussing or mentioning of as soon as the session began. So I talked about HubSpot, right? So again, HubSpot is one such brand that over the years it has become such an important platform for all the content creators. Not only when I talk about content creators, I'm not only referring to people who are into writing, I'm also referring to people who are into designing, I'm also referring to people who are into video making. So everyone who is into some form of content creation, and again, we need not be writers or we need not be designers, or need not be video editors to be making content or creating content. We could be anyone. Any business owner can also create content. What any business owner potentially puts across as a post on social media platform is also a form of content. And we are actually practically none of us who are actually into that shoes of a business owner can understand what all goes in their mind, right? So for them also it becomes their means of building authority, their means of building trust comes via content that they put. So again, coming back to HubSpot, HubSpot is one such platform that over the years it has provided such a lot, so many information to us in terms of free content. Forget about the paid resources that HubSpot has, right? We are talking about free resources in terms of case studies. There are so many blogs, so many informative articles, blogs about the latest trends, about what else? I mean, a lot of you use, there are so many templates that we download from HubSpot on a day-to-day basis that it has become such an important tool in our lives. And of course, there are like, even if the software, the CRM software that it does offer, it has a freemium version to it. So a lot of people like us who are operating in a small scale business can use a lot of resources for free and then eventually graduate to paid resources. So then there is, on the right hand side, there is this statistics about like what type of marketing you're doing, and that seems to have. So this was from a survey asked to marketeers, and a lot of them happen to kind of, unanimously, if you see, content marketing has a very higher percentage in terms of return on investment as compared to the other marketing efforts that you see. Then, moving ahead to what is a buyer's journey. So when we're talking about content marketing, and we've discussed about target audience, we've discussed about like why content marketing is important to us, why brands are behind it. Then there is this one particular aspect of content marketing, which is a buyer's journey. So it provides a framework that acknowledges a buyer's progression, a buyer's journey from a research stage to a purchase or a decision making stage. So again, now here I would like to ask to you all one particular example. Say suppose you have to buy a mobile phone, right? Your handset is now not operating well, it got damaged or whatever, and now you need to buy a new mobile phone. What do? Just walk me through the process of it. What all steps do you take while doing that or making that purchase decision?
I'll go to Flipkart and research and
Okay.
look according to my budget, like what type of my budget it, and then decide on of which type of company I would like to buy or think, or either I will ask one of my friends to suggest me, what is the trending mobile these days, or cool features
Hmm.
or something like that. So yeah, I
Right.
think this is the decision, and I think after that I'll just see if the features are according to my interest, then I'll go and buy that product, and if it suits my budget.
Right, right. So of course, I mean, for you, it's budget definitely becomes a key criteria. So yeah, you kind of set in a budget. You do online research, right? Online research becomes a very important part of making that purchase decision. You go to Flipkart, probably you ask your friends. So a referral also helps. So primarily, if I walk through like all the buyer's journey for this would be I want to buy a phone. I would see online for the options available, right? I have a budget in mind. Say suppose I want to spend like 25-30,000 at max and not more than that. So I see a budget, I have this budget, and in that budget I'll see all the phones online, and then I'll compare the different features, right? And while doing all this, how many of you also do actually check the reviews when you see online, because that's also an important part of making that purchase decision, like once you have kind of seen that.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. The reviews also becomes important, right? So you kind of see all those options, you check the reviews, which is good, which is not. You do all those product comparisons and you check with your friends. And then ultimately, when you kind of, you kindly narrow down to maybe 2 or 3 options, and then you're confused what to do, right? Most of it kind of happens in that scenario that you have 2-3 best options, and then you think of what to do next, right? So in the same way, all the buyer's journey, can be primarily categorized into these 3 stages. Stage. The other stage is the interest stage. The final is the action stage. So when we talk about buyer's journey, it's often we also denote it as a marketing funnel, right? So the stages could be, can vary, awareness, or the names could slightly vary from particular brand or to the other brands that are actually talking about it, but more or less the steps remain the same. That is the same thing that we are talking about, right? So in a typical buyer's journey, we walk through the 3 stages and then kind of tell you what these 3 stages are, right? So in a perfect world and in an actual world, there are different scenarios where we come into the picture. Taking the same example of a mobile phone, right? I want to buy a mobile phone, and in the current scenario, I'm already aware that there are a few companies that I like. Probably I like MI. Probably I like OnePlus as well. Probably I'm also considering Samsung, right? I'm already aware of the brands. I'm already aware of specific models available in the market, right? So probably I will not require that much of information about the credibility of the brand as somebody else who is absolutely new and who absolutely does not know about a particular brand, right? At one point of time, it so happened that probably I didn't know about OnePlus for a very long time, and I'm talking about 6-7 years back, okay, not now, but probably, yeah, when it was initially introduced. So yeah, it took me some time to actually get, okay, what this OnePlus mobile is all about. So I was at that stage wherein I was at an initial awareness level stage. So what happens in a perfect world and an actual world is people walk in at different points in time of their buying journey. So not everyone requires the same amount of information to be consumed as the others, right? For me, it could be I already have done my research. Probably I've done my research way back, maybe a couple of months back, and then suddenly I dropped my idea of buying a new mobile phone altogether out of nowhere. Okay, out of no particular reason, I said, okay, let me not just buy my mobile phone now, which happens like to a lot of us, right? Maybe my mobile phone is working well, but since I'm still contemplating that maybe I should change my phone, right? I do the search at that point of time. I found a couple of phones, and then I shortlist a few, and all of a sudden I say, okay, it's still working fine. Maybe I can, drag it for another 2-3 months, which happens like to most of us. It's a very common scenario. So I drag it, and then I just leave it all there. But there is somebody else like me who, after at this point of time, who is doing that again, who's doing that process from the beginning. So probably they need to be made aware of what the product is, and then they need to be walked down through the funnel of what services they can offer, what are the features that it can offer, and what are the advantages, what the technical specifications of the products, etc., so on and so forth, right? And so in an actual world, people can walk in at different points of time. So where content helps here is, of course, there is content at each level of the buying funnel. So there is content, there has to be content for the awareness stage, there has to be content for the interest stage, and there has to be content for the action stage, right? And now I'm going to walk you through each of these stages in detail. Like when we talk about the awareness, also known as the attract stage, it's the top of the funnel. It is this point wherein your customers are actually trying to solve a problem, right? I know that I have a mobile phone that needs to be replaced, right? This is my problem. And they are looking for answers offline to meet, and they are exploring options. Okay, what are the options available for me? I know that my mobile phone needs to be replaced. Now I'm checking the options that, okay, which brands do I have? I have iPhone, I have Apple, I have Samsung, I have MI, I have Xiaomi. It's the same thing, right? Xiaomi is the same, right? Then I have Huawei, then all the other mobile phone brands that you can think of. So I have all these options available. There could be a probability that I may not know 2 or 3 of those brands. So for those 2-3 brands, it could be an awareness stage content that might help me. So what kind of content usually goes at such a stages? It could be blog post, it could be YouTube videos, it could be infographics, social media post, viral content, podcast episodes, live video or webinars. These are contents which actually help them provide some first-hand information about the product, as well as, kind of address their problems that they are actually looking for at the first place, right? That's why they're doing that online research. And I would focus here only on like online, because that's specifically the area that we are addressing right now, and that's what most of us and most of the marketers kind of address now. Offline, of course, can be converted and replicated from here itself. That we want to provide educational content at first place, which can actually address the pain points of the so-called target audience, right? So that forms the first stage of the attract stage. So going back to the same example of, buying the mobile phone. So if I type on Google that I want to look for a mobile phone, and I search that, and I get those options, and probably there could be a blog post by somebody, or there could be a blog post of maybe some brand who will show me different options. They could be blog post, or they could be YouTube videos of tech, there are a lot of these tech gurus who do all those review kind of thing, which probably comes at a later stage of the buying funnel. But then there are different form of contents available online. So probably somebody who would actually have a blog post or maybe any video which can talk about the available product or features and the problems that they're trying to solve. That becomes the first type of the content in the funnel for me. Once this once this is through, once we are through, and at each stage of the funnel, sorry, I forgot to tell this in before, that of course when we talk about marketing funnel, so what's the property of a funnel? A property of a funnel is at the top of the funnel you'll have a lot of the input is really high in terms of volume, but the output narrows down, right? That's why in marketing you kind of denote it via funnel, because a lot of people inquire about your product, a lot of people show interest in your product or services, but only few actually take the purchase decision. So that's why it's denoted by an inverted triangle. Coming to the next stage of the funnel, it's the consideration or the interest stage. When we talk about the middle of the funnel, so when somebody moves into the middle of the funnel, it means that they have captured your interest, right? So you know that this particular brand can solve my problem, and they know that these are the options. So their problem has been solved, and now they are kind of evaluating other options as well. So it also is denoted by consideration. So that's why it's also said as consideration stage. So they have the available options probably, so, and they are evaluating different options, which is the best option from the options available. So the type of content that you can use here is email newsletters. Then those are product comparison posts. These could be really helpful for somebody who's actually evaluating. So just consider the same example. I am looking out for phones, and if I get these content which actually talks about product comparison, and if it happens to be the same product comparisons that I narrowed down, nothing less than that. But even if not, a model here or there of the same brand can actually help me answer a lot of questions there. So product comparisons helps a lot. Case studies helps a lot. A lot of people want to go and visit the case studies or use cases of products and services and check. And if there is any pre-launch sequence, or then a lot of companies who are into FMCG, a lot of FMCG companies, especially into food and beverages, a lot of them also do product demos. So in India now, I don't know what's the scenario because of this pandemic, but initially, if you can recall, if you used to visit any malls or outside these even inside these stores like Big Bazaar, More, or all these Reliance Smart, DMart, all the Reliance Fresh, DMart kind of stuff. So some or the other brand used to have some kind of product demo to showcase, even if it's an electric equipment which can help in some cooking stuff, or there is some new food or beverage, some iced tea, or some quick snacks, or so they used to have a canopy लगा देते थे वहां पर stall जैसा कुछ, and they used to have like promoters who would just do a product demo. So that's also an consideration or an interest stage kind of thing. So why I'm giving you this example is because the same thing can be replicated offline as well, right? So just giving you an example of online and offline, like what kind of things happen there. So product demos in case of online things, of course, if there are SaaS products, so online, a lot of you have done, assuming might have done some demos of some or the other kind of softwares that you guys have used. Even HubSpot for its CRM does its product demo, right? That also becomes example of type of content at this stage. Sorry, somebody has unmuted yourself and wanted to say something.
No, I was just saying that's very common. It's called brand ambassadors. That is what the job is publicized as. And even if you go to Costco, obviously right now it's COVID, they won't do it.
Yes.
But they would offer you free samples and things like that. Or out on the street, people will offer you free stuff.
Right. So in an offline world, that kind of becomes that usually translates down into this stage. In the middle of the funnel is what I wanted to explain.
In the digital world, things like ebook downloads and
yes, exactly. So a lot of companies also ask you to download ebooks, white papers, The templates also, at times that they share can become an example either at the awareness stage or at the consideration stage, depending upon what kind of templates that they are offering or what kind of. A lot of us have probably downloaded social media calendars from Hootsuite, from HubSpot, and from other resources. So all these become kind of examples of content that can be used at different stages. Now, coming to the final stage of, the funnel, that's the decision or the action stage. So when we talk about the decision-making stage, so it's not necessarily that the decision has to be always in the affirmative or in the positive. It could be as simple as that, okay, I decided not to buy that phone anymore, as simple as that. It is still a decision. It is still an action that I took. Irrespective of the content that I consumed all this while, probably I just switched my mind altogether that, okay, I don't want to buy that mobile phone for the next 3-4 months anymore. As simple as that, right? And that's a very, common user behavior. And that's why, I mean, and we are discussing of day-to-day examples like this so that it becomes like more relevant to you and me. So in the bottom of the funnel, if I talk about the content specifics, what makes the content so different in the bottom of the funnel? So we have done those initial content. We have provided that initial information to the target audience where we let them know that, okay, we are this brand and we can solve your problem, right? So that part is addressed. We kind of also address their part in terms of comparison. We kind of help them in their consideration stage that, okay, probably we provided them with some value added services, we may provide them with some testimonials or something of that sort. Maybe case studies in terms to show that, okay, this is the work that we have done, whatever. And now at this stage, most of the content actually boils down to a call to action, right? So if and probably a lot of you might have noticed, if I again go back to the same example of buying this mobile phone. So probably I think Jasmeet, you mentioned that you would go on Flipkart and probably ask your friend as well about this buying phone. So probably once you have made that search online, what happens next? I mean, do you see some kind of emails or some kind of ads popping up in your feed while you
Yes,
consume content,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So what happens there is actually, so that's kind of a retargeting campaign that brands use, right? So you have done that research. So brand वो दिखाते जाएगा आपको बार बार ना at different instances कि अच्छा, you searched my product, you actually saw these products on my website or wherever, and it will keep on popping up on your feed for a relatively some time, so that with a very lucrative offer. And a lot of these things happen on, especially on e-commerce sites. A lot of these e-commerce sites use it. Okay, you left this item in your cart, or this item is left in your wish list, and this is this is our midnight offer, and they'll give you a very compelling midnight offer. Okay, this is the just for you, exclusive for you, and all these tactics. So all these things are actually copywriting / content tactics that these brands use and they provide you a very compelling call to action, and then so that you kind of fall for the trap, the so-called trap that these companies make you feel way that, okay, if you not purchase it within this limited time frame, that probably either you miss out on that offer. That offer could be exclusive discount for you, or maybe some free delivery on some XYZ, or for a very high value item, whatever. It could be anything, but then that call to action has to be very specific and compelling, which actually makes you either go in for a yes or makes you either go in for a no, that kind of a decision. So in all these kind of contents that we are discussing here so far, whenever there is a content piece which has to be written for this stage of the buyer's journey, then probably your content could be in forms of webinars, a lot of or sales emails that a lot of companies use. Customer testimonials can also at times fall into this. Sales pages, a lot of these educational companies who are into online courses, right? They conduct these webinars, and in these webinars, they always end it with a very lucrative offer that, if you just pay the entire amount within the next 24 hours, then we will give you 10 or 20% of discount. So this is kind of a compelling call to action that they give towards the end of the session, so that they actually get that conversion for the student. So this is one such example wherein I have personally experienced that an educational company has used, and a lot of educational companies actually do that in webinars. Unless I didn't realize that this is happening to me, and jab tak mujhe pata nahi chala ki acha, this is content marketing and this is a funnel strategy that they're using it on me, till the time I discovered, of course I'd done that long time back, so tabhi mujhe pata bhi nahi tha what it is happening. But for people like you and me who are now into this content world, it makes more sense for us to get an idea of where the target audience is in their buying journey. What it does is it actually helps you frame a content in a way. It could be as simple or as basic as writing a blog, right? A lot of us are probably writers here. So even as simple as if you're writing a blog, it always makes sense for you to ask your client that, okay, what's the purpose of this blog? Is it just for the awareness? Then you know what kind of stuff that you have to address in your blog content. Probably you're just going to address the pain points, the challenges, maybe user experience or something of that sort you're just going to address. If it is coming somewhere in the consideration stage, probably you would show comparisons of X product with Y product. You would write something on those lines. So I'm just, kind of opening up your mind in terms of directions that you can actually use while conversing with your client. Clear till now?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, now moving on to the next part. We have done the buyer's journey. Now, SMART goals. So what are these SMART goals? So we have this buyer's journey now set up. And for each of these content pieces at each of this step of the funnel, we need to have some or the other goal. We initially discussed in the definition of content marketing that it is a strategic marketing approach. So when I talk about a strategic marketing approach, it has to be defined by well-established goals. So when I talk about SMART goals, that's a common acronym used across marketing. So when you talk about SMART, so to just quickly go through it, the goals have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be actionable, relevant, and time bound, right? So just to give you an example of what it means to have like specific, measurable, actionable, and I'll help explain this with the help of an example, because I now realize that we are running short of time. So specific, the goals say exactly what you want to achieve. Say suppose, let's take an example that I have a blog, right? So to set a SMART goal for my blog probably would be, I want to increase my visitor or my subscribers by 10% in the next 2 months, right? This could be my specific or my SMART goal, right? So it has the dynamics of all these attributes which are specific. I am defining what the goal is. I want to increase my subscriber rate, right? I want to keep it measurable. I'm indicating what I want in this. So I want to increase my subscriber rate by 10%. So say suppose it is 2,000, 3,000 subscribers from now. So I want to increase it by 10%. It could be 2,200, 3,300, depending on whichever number it is, in the next 2 months' time, right? I'm keeping it time-based as well, because I could get this 10% increase maybe in 4 months, maybe in 5 months, in 6 months, or maybe in a year, right? But maybe that time frame will not be helpful for me, because I would have wasted a lot of time and effort to achieve that 10% growth, which is not valuable for me. So I stick to a timeline. I give myself a timeline that, okay, in the next 2 months, which is a reasonable timeline. Okay, so that's also something that we need to keep in mind, that okay, I need to have goals which are actually relevant and reasonable as well, actionable rather. So make sure your goal is actually actionable. So I'm not putting an unrealistic target for myself that okay, I want to have a 1,000% increase in my subscribers. Probably I can have it if I'm willing to spend a lot of money on ads or something like that, or buy up paid mediums. But I don't want to do that. If I want to keep it all organic, probably 10% is a good enough percentage hike that I'm actually looking at. Relevant, it is relevant to my business. I'm a content creator. For me, subscriber rate on my blog would make a lot of sense. So it is relevant for my business. And time based, as I earlier explained, that time excuse me, a good enough dedicated time is most important for any goal that you may set. So I gave you an example of this blog. It could be any other example. It could be increasing your website visitors. It could be increasing your social media engagement rates. So all these KPIs, you can keep in mind that what specific goals are you trying to address. And with each goal, say suppose, because it's as simple as that, it was for a blog. So of course, I am looking for blogs as a content piece to help me reach to this particular goal. So probably I will set, a timeline for myself that, okay, one particular content piece of blog I'm dedicating to achieve this goal, and I will start measuring from that. Okay, I will post it. I'll prepare maybe a content calendar. I will share one blog per month, and I will see how it performs. Probably I will tweak, content from there. I would repurpose the blog content on other social media platforms in order to gain traction back to my blogging website. So all these things, also comes into these SMART goals, and I will do that in terms of a relevant strategy that I use. Now, coming to how to create content for your business or generating content ideas. So a lot of things have been said about the strategy part of it, describing about the buyer's journey and explaining all those things. But content creation or content forms the baseline for all those things that we have been discussing for the past 50 minutes, 59 minutes or so. So, creating your target audience persona becomes the most important things in all those things that we do. So, target audience persona, for those of you who don't know what it is, I'll just quickly explain what it means. That it defines, it represents, a fictional character. It is a fictional representation of a real character who is from your related target audience, right? So say suppose, going back to the example of Pampers that I discussed in the very beginning. So the target audience for Pampers, one of the target audience for Pampers was parents, right? And the other set of target audience could be these maternity institutes, right? So the pain points for both of these set of target audience could be different. For me, say suppose, if I am the target audience as a parent, I would be more concerned about how the quality of the product is, right? Does it create rashes on the child's skin or not, right? Being a parent, I would be concerned about how good the product is in terms of the feel and the comfort for the kid. That would be my primary concern. But maternity institute, do you think that they will have the same pain point, or will they have will they have some other pain point? Will they be more interested or bothered about कि अच्छा एक बच्चे की skin के लिए is it good or bad, or will they be more interested about कि उनका overall जो budget है for that, to get diapers, because it's not just one kid, one child for them at the maternity institute. Probably they'll have hundreds of kids there, so they'll be more interested about the budget aspect of the cost aspect of it. कि अच्छा जो भी सस्ता मिल रहा है, they would rather take that, right? So all of them have like different pain points. They have different challenges. So you got to ensure that your content has to be such that it addresses the pain points or challenges of different target audience personas. So for creating target audience personas, you can also refer to, there are various templates available online. My personal, go-to templates would be, they're very great templates at extensio.io. It's written as xtensio.io. You have like really awesome templates there for creating target audience persona. HubSpot has very good template. Not too much of a graphical representation, but yeah, still a decent one. Hootsuite has a lot of templates, and then you can find like n number of templates online these days. But these are my top 3 picks if you want to go ahead in creating such a target audience persona, either for yourself or for your clients. Then the second thing which comes to creating content for your business is search for relevant keywords for your product or service offering, right? Of course, needless to say, it helps in your search engine optimization. अगर Google search पे मुझे आपका product या service मिलेगा नहीं, I will never be able to come to your website. As simple as that. As I said, 75% of the people don't even go beyond the first page of the search engine unless I'm, of course, using paid ads to get ad listed on Google search engine page, right? Otherwise, it's not happening. So you have to look for relevant keywords. And again, to find keywords, there are a lot of keyword tools available. Google Keyword Planner being one of them. Then you have this Neil Patel ka, which Uber Suggest you have. Then you can also get ideas from Google Trends. A lot of you can search. There are various Chrome extensions available. There are various extensions of keyword.io that you can use, so which can help you identify the relevant keywords for your product and service offering. Third is creating content bucket or themes of your content. So what do I mean by creating content bucket or themes of content is कि not always a user would like to have one kind of content, right? I would like to have a mix of content. So मैं हमेशा ही ज्ञान की बातें नहीं बांट सकती हूँ to all my users. So it will not always be educative or informative kind of content. Even if it is educative or informative kind of content, maybe I'd like to add some humor to it to make it more entertaining. Maybe some kind of contents would be purely promotional, right? So there'll be different content themes that I would decide for my product or service. So those content themes either could be based on specific product or service type that you're catering into. If say suppose a particular brand is into multiple products and multiple services, then you have n number of your themes could be around those specific services that you're catering to. Otherwise, if you have limited products or services, then your themes could be around as I talk about, like content which is educational, content which is informative, content which is humorous, content which is entertaining, all these content which is viral or content which is purely promotional. So you can bifurcate your content in those categories. Excuse me. Then align content type with business goals. So as I said, I told you an example of those the blog example of increasing that 10% subscriber rate in the next 2 months. So for that, if I write a particular blog piece, so I have to align it specifically in terms of, okay, that this particular blog is going to help me in getting or attaining towards those 10% hike that I am eyeing at for my subscribers. And then you kind of keep a track of it. You analyze it. Okay, what's the performance of this particular blog piece like? And similarly for the other blogs to follow as well. Preparing a content calendar. Again, content calendar is something a lot of companies use, and it really helps you to sort out in terms of when we talk about like content marketing or social media marketing, which again are used very interchangeably. It really helps you in giving that consistency, in giving you a predefined kind of structure where you know that, okay, what all is going on in the next few days in the content. So it keeps everything together, right? It as the name suggests, it's a content calendar. So it kind of helps you, okay, there is a date on specific dates you can post the specific type of content. You can have on which platform do you want to post. If you also want, you can also define the time on which platform on during which it has to be posted, and then you start posting. That's how content really goes about. And again, for preparing content calendar, you have various templates available online. You can find that again on Hootsuite, on HubSpot, on Content Marketing Institute as well. So you can find, I mean, these are my top 3 picks. And then if not, if you don't like the templates, because a lot of templates are too overwhelming for beginners, you can just start by creating your own Excel. Just write the dates on one column and just write the platforms in across the rows, or just interchange it the way you feel, which is more comfortable. So dates on one side and platforms on one side, and you can just put the link of the content there. It could be a Google Drive link, it could be a OneDrive link, whichever, wherever your content is there, so that it becomes and makes your life more sorted. Now, okay, that makes me come to the end of the session. Sorry, I exceeded a bit of time. So now I'm open to questions. Feel free to ask me whatever you want to. Pin drop silence here, of course. I mean,
just want to thank you for
Most
such a
welcome.
wonderful presentation. And curious, where did you get the template, or did you make it?
Canva Zindabad.
Oh, awesome. All right. So there's a question in the chat. They're asking whether you'll be sharing the deck or.
Yes, I will
now
share.
Now you can see the chat.
Yeah, I can see. Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Prince. Yeah. So yes, I will share. I will be sharing the PPT with you all, and there are a few links that I've already attached in the presentation, like the one of the Faro, and there'll be other links. I'll also mention these templates that I've used or recommend you to, and you can check. Any other question you may have?
This session wasn't recorded, was it?
I don't think so. Harshita, was it recorded?
Yeah, it was recorded.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So you'll be making it available later over email?
Would it be available?
Like after some editing, I would be like posting it on the YouTube. So like I will share the link once it's up, so you can refer from there.
Please do. Please share it over email. Thank you so very much.
Okay, great. Any other questions from anyone?
Thoroughly enjoyed the session, Ruchi. You did a great job. Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you, Smith. Thank you, Bhuvneshwaran. So yeah, if you guys have no other questions, we can probably wrap it up. Or if you have, you can just let me know. Sure, Prince. Yeah, we can connect offline. Probably you can just let me know. Thank you so much, Kriti. Thank you, Ashita. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you everyone for your time, and have a really nice evening ahead.
We have a question that how many hashtags are important for the content?
Okay, how many hashtags are important for content? So again, it depends on which particular social media platform are we on. Say suppose Twitter and Instagram hashtags are important. They do matter because they help your content show up in the feed, right? When somebody searches. LinkedIn, even if we put, say suppose, so okay, I'll give you now examples. For LinkedIn, anywhere like 2 to 5, 5 is also on a very higher side. For LinkedIn, 2 to 4 is a good enough number to be using any hashtag. For Twitter, you can use like as many hashtags as you want. Twitter is the single platform which actually kind of brought that trend.
Sorry, you continue. I just had the question that I have heard somewhere that Twitter hashtags won't work at times. and we should not push hashtags on Twitter. Like, is it true, or like it's just a myth?
I doubt it to be true, because for Twitter, for sure, this is one such thing that it's sole feature, because hashtags नहीं होंगे तो trend कहाँ से आएगा Twitter पे? As simple as that.
Exactly, like
So
that
yeah,
was
no,
my point. I was
more or
actually
less.
new to Twitter, so I just researched about it and talked to some people. So they suggested that Twitter hashtags won't work. So I just
No.
wanted to confirm.
No, it won't. It won't. If it was the case, then probably we'll not see any of the Twitter trends that we are seeing for now. Forget about. I mean, the latest being this India US flag wala. So yeah, and for Instagram again. So Instagram, you can have like
30.
10 to 15. Yeah, you can have max 30. But then in the, depending upon how much content you write in the description, depends on like how many you want to put it. Again, making it relevant makes it more sense than just putting, hashtags just for the sake of putting hashtags. So for me personally, I mean, I would rather prefer, even if it's a limit of 30 hashtags that I can use on Instagram, I would rather prefer to have it on 10 put 10 hashtags that are relevant to my content, rather than putting the balance 20 as well. Again, in different form of Instagram posts that we are doing, I recently discovered, again, this particular one, I'm not that sure, but yeah, I recently discovered that for reels that we post, so the description that we put, so one or two hashtags or a short description is good enough. So for platform to platform, for the type of content that we are putting, the hashtags actually vary. Facebook, there's no use of putting any hashtag anymore. It really doesn't matter for that.
Hey,
So I
just in
hope.
that, the reels part that you mentioned, right? I think probably the organic reach is more there because that's a new feature they've introduced, and they're trying to
Yes.
promote it. On the contrary, if you look at LinkedIn, for some reason the organic reach is down. I don't know what.
Yes.
Any insights in there?
So yeah, for any platform, which I mean, any platform has a life cycle, right? For just like the product life cycle. So for like, if we talk about Facebook now, if we compare LinkedIn now, and if we compare Instagram now, so Facebook, 10 years back, it was at a boom. Everyone was on Facebook, right? That was okay. Facebook पे नहीं है, तो as if like कि पता नहीं क्या हो गया, कुछ पहाड़ टूट गया types, that kind of a scenario. Right now, if we see, especially generation like us, we hardly use Facebook, right? For us, that's not a relevant platform. Similarly, when we talk about LinkedIn back, I mean, 2018, 2019 was a platform that LinkedIn wanted more and more people to come and create content there. Right, that was the strategy there, because a lot of users on LinkedIn has over like 650 million users, but only 1 or 3% of the people are content creators out of those. If I talk about like on a very regular basis, there are only 1% who actually regularly create content, and LinkedIn at that point of time wanted more and more people to create content. That's why back in 2018, 2019, you had a lot of organic reach, wherein your content, irrespective of what format of content you're putting, even if it was like video, even if it was like graphic post, even if it was a text post, you still had a better reach as compared to what you have now. Even I have experienced this over the last 3 years, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree.
It's really crazy. I posted a deck. It crossed 150K eyeballs. And I post a video, it barely reaches in hundreds. So I think they're expecting more content as well.
Yes, videos on LinkedIn don't do that good. I mean, they were still, I think 2019 beginning, it was still good enough for videos. But now I think for LinkedIn specifically, a lot of us have noticed that text posts perform really well. Right?
Yeah.
You have a good reach, and
Since
And
we are on
for
the
other,
topic, and I don't want to make this more back and forth, but I'm noticing people are also posting without hashtags on LinkedIn, and
yes.
they seem to have great engagements too. So, is it possible, or have you observed this as a trend where the reach is going far without any hashtags, if at all?
Yeah. So as I said, in LinkedIn, hashtags, even if you have, you don't have, that doesn't make much of a difference, because in LinkedIn, it's not that of a hashtag prominent content platform. Because people create content and consume content irrespective of that hashtag feature. Because I doubt how many of the users will actually go in the search bar and search via using the hashtag content feature, because there is an option wherein you can actually go and search
Yeah.
hashtag slash, and then you
Sure.
can actually pick point. Okay, if you want to see content from that particular hashtag, then it
Mhm.
can show. But a lot of people really don't
But
see that,
there
and
are
probably a lot of people don't even know that.
no, yeah, probably not. But then there are still a lot of people that do know this, because if just a tactic for you guys here, I follow, and maybe Ruchi and others do too. When I have to post something, I'd go look up how many followers a certain hashtag has, and then when was the last time certain content was posted on that hashtag, and what was the latest engagement on that hashtag or a relevant hashtag there. And you can do this right from the LinkedIn search bar. They've changed the UX right now, just a few days ago, a little bit, as if
Yes.
you'll see the post instead of the hashtag and the followers for it. Then you have to go to the post, click on the hashtag, and then you see how many followers. But there still are followers to the hashtag. That means your content is reaching those followers at least.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, and Instagram, yeah, as you said, Reels is a relatively new feature there, and Instagram wants to promote Reels. I've been hearing a lot of reviews also, and I've been reading it online that they want to promote more of Reel content. That's why you can see a lot of people actually using Instagram for the same and pushing content via Reels there. What books do I suggest for content marketing? Do read this book by Ashish Chopra, Fast, Cheap, and Viral. It's really awesome if you're into video creation. If not, General for Content Marketing, Epic Content Marketing by Joe Polisi is again one of the great books that you can refer to. Then, if you want to check one, there is this. You can get glimpses of content marketing there, but it's advertising by David Ogilvy. So that's also a great book. It will give you really good insights on content marketing as well in one of the chapters. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I think, yeah, let's wrap it up if you don't have any more questions.
There are a
Harshita?
few in the chat. Maybe
I
you
guess
can
we should
answer.
wrap up. Even if like we have questions, we would connect with you in the group. Like you can.
Yes. Yeah, we can take it offline. Yeah. So yeah, because it's already 8:20 there.
Yeah. And I have an exam tomorrow.
All the best.
Thank you so much. So yeah, thank
Okay.
you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for
Thank you.
all for joining us today. And it was a great session. I myself learned so much from you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a nice evening. Take care.